that you all need to do. This General Assembly session was historic in so many ways. And it's harder just because of the situation that we find ourselves in for you guys to really let every corner of Virginia know, no matter if you're in Lee County, no matter if you're on the Eastern Shore, in Fairfax, Richmond, or Southside, just how impactful this session was. And so we appreciate your leadership, Congressman. We appreciate your leadership as well. Keep fighting the good fight. Hold our president accountable, and good luck on Tuesday. So now I wanted to, we're getting ready. This is the last panel of today, and I wanted to bring in a couple of really good friends of mine to talk about a couple of things that I think to wrap us up are really important. If you're a new delegate, if you're new to this process, you heard from our speakers yesterday about the importance of getting involved in what is the most important election of all of our lifetimes. And so I wanted to provide a little bit of an opportunity for folks to know just how to get involved. It's harder. It's harder sometimes if you don't know some of the players in the party about just how to make that first step. And so I wanted to bring in a couple of folks who really know how to do that. One, Fernando Mercado. He's a friend of mine who ran or was a state director for Vice President Biden's campaign in Virginia during the primary. And then we have the amazing Ivana Hall, who was my deputy last year as coordinated campaign director. I know Ivana, we don't like that word coordinated, but take the majority director, co-director. She was amazing, and she's actually up in Pennsylvania right now fighting the good fight with the Pennsylvania Dems. So I wanted to start off by asking you guys, Fernando, you were involved with the Biden campaign. You've been involved since the beginning. If somebody, to those state delegates or to the random person who's out there watching right now, how do I get involved? If that's a question that they ask themselves, what can they do? What's the most impactful way that they can get started right now as a state delegate?
Thank you so much for having me. I think the best way to get involved is to go to joebiden.com/organize now. There you will see a menu of great options. And before I get into all those options, I just want to talk a little bit more broadly about what our campaign is doing to be creative and getting to meet voters where they are and start mobilizing momentum for November and getting our volunteers ready to go. In this environment that we're in. So the first thing is you could call folks in Virginia, call other Biden supporters, check in on them. Things are difficult right now. Like the vice president said, we're dealing with two crises right now. People need to be checked in on, and that's something that our campaign is providing. That's like the type of empathetic and grounded leadership that Joe Biden is all about. So we want to check in on folks. The second thing is we want to host a virtual meeting. You could propose an event, and these events are great because it allows you to use your network to bring into the campaign, and you can make it about an issue you particularly care about. You could make it about a constituency-based event. I know that there are folks that are going to be celebrating Colombian Independence Day with Joe Biden and just bring in a lot of people from their neighborhood and things like that into a virtual event. All types of events. We had an event with LGBT veterans in Northern Virginia. That was incredibly successful. Things that bring in your community and to talk about Joe Biden, because people want to know how they can help. People are sick and tired of what's happening in Washington. People are sick and tired of this president. And you being a state delegate, you're a leader in your community. You need to bring your network in, your friends and family in, and talk to them about, okay, we're all going to be organizers for Joe Biden. The third thing would be to get trained. We have a lot of tools. They're all, we're all digital. We have a strong texting team. We have a strong Slack team. But in order to get up and running with these tools, you're going to have to get trained. So getting educated on how to best use our tools. We ask you that you join. We have live from Philly every day. You can get trained on how to best organize for Joe Biden. If you do that, you'll be equipped with the tools. You'll be able to join our texting team, which is I think like is going to be breaking through in a really strong way and have really strong, meaningful conversations with voters. And then the last thing that I'll end up with is download the Team Joe app, which facilitates the relational organizing. The Team Joe app is something that allows you to really directly get campaign messages to the people already on your phone. You are our biggest tool as a delegate, as a leader, as someone in your community that when you speak, people listen. That matters to us a lot in getting our meeting voters where they are in this environment. It really does take that relational organizing, that voter to voter, neighbor to neighbor contact. And the last thing is, get connected with someone like me, someone from the campaign, your local organizer, and get to work. There are a lot of things that you could be doing right now. The challenge that we have in front of us with social distancing and COVID is we have to be creative. But that is also an opportunity, and I think an exciting one for volunteers on the ground to really, make the campaign their own. This campaign is really about, what we want this country to be, what we want our future to be, and we need to be emblematic of that and get our folks activated and really galvanize our networks. But Andrew, thank you for that. I hope that like broadly answers the question.
Okay, can you hear me now? Cool. All right. Sorry about that little tech glitch. Fernando, what I was saying is that I appreciate you mentioning that. This is an opportunity right now where we can use this current environment to use those relational tactics. Relational organizing tactics, like you just mentioned right now, that we've all tried to implement on campaigns. Yvonne and I, you know dang well that you and I talked about this a lot of times, but it's oftentimes really hard to implement because we go from cycle to cycle, and it's hard to sit there in July or August and try to reinvent the wheel. Well, this has forced you guys to reinvent the wheel. And I think that's really important. Ivana, I'm going to kick it over to you. I'm curious to get your thoughts about this because you and I worked really well together last year. We obviously had a successful campaign where we flipped the General Assembly. Do you want to follow up, particularly about maybe what you guys are doing in Pennsylvania that maybe we can lean back on in Virginia, and just how we can do a better job about reaching out to our voters during this time and not using the current COVID crisis to be a roadblock in trying to reach out to our voters?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Andrew, and good afternoon, everybody. Really happy to be here with you. So something that we're doing really well in Pennsylvania was actually that we did implement a lot of the program from Take the Majority and moving that program over to Pennsylvania. The party there and the director, Sinceri Harris, was very interested in what we did in Virginia last year. And so we not only are we trying to flip the Keystone State for the vice president, but also we have an opportunity in Pennsylvania to flip their General Assembly there, and also have take the majority for Congress and send a majority Democrat delegation from Pennsylvania to Washington. So really looking to implement a lot of the same tools that we used for Take the Majority last year, and having an all-around encompass true coordinated campaign for the first time in Pennsylvania. So that was a big part of using the pod structure with our regional directors so that we can implement and have as many races in our program as much as possible. So that's something that we did that we're currently doing. But really wanting to use the primary as practice. It's the first time that Pennsylvania has had vote by mail. So really wanting to get this process right. And so really flipping, with me starting the job after 3 weeks, really flipping the program to a digital organizing program, which was very hard and difficult, but the team took it and ran with it. So we really have using phone banking as a tool heavily was really important. We saw our contact rates from phone banking, which normally hover around 8 to 9%. Our phone banking contact rates went up 15 to 18%, right? So that started to become as good as a door knock when we don't have to social distance. So heavy phone banking, but also having a dialer program, implementing a dialer program really quickly was also valuable. And then using text systems within dialer programs. So being able to text people the link of where to sign up for vote by mail to receive their ballots was a new tool that we used as well. And then also texting, getting out as many text messages as possible. Again, using those digital links. And we could also track the activity of those links and how many people were now clicking on those links after they open up their text messages was something that we were able to do as well. So really utilizing digital organizing in this time and digital tools has been really important. We were able to have Democrats request 1.3 million ballots compared to 500,000 Republicans who only requested their ballots. So we were very happy with that. But really being creative in this time has allowed us to really have some fun with this, but also reach voters in different ways that we hadn't before.
That's really helpful to hear from. I mean, again, you and I had this conversation in 2019 about how to do this, but again, like this current situation that we find ourselves in with COVID and everything has really forced us to be creative and to get it right. Ivana, I'm going to stick with you for just 1 second. I know that a lot of folks on here, and if you tuned into our In the Know session from last month with Chris Bowling, with Trevor Sutherland, and with Christina, the EDs of the House and Senate caucuses, you heard Chris talk about why last year we didn't use the word coordinated. And some of the branding that we tried to use. Do you want to talk about that process and just how I guess that a lot of folks in Virginia kind of associate and lump coordinated and Virginia Democrats together. They don't necessarily understand that there's two different organizations, even if we're kind of pseudo linked. And so I want to see if you could provide the delegation and anybody that's joining with a little bit of an explanation about those differences and how they matter when people are trying to figure out how they get involved.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing when people think about coordinated is that you have one entity running everything, calling the shots, right? And so what was different about our program last year was that the Democratic Party was one of many table partners who were also making the decisions, right? So we had the House Democrats and the Senate Democrats who were also table partners who were making key decisions on this campaign and how we move forward as well. We also had members of the DLCC and the Way Ahead PAC as well. And so they were included on those big decisions. And at the end of the day, we would take votes, right? And decide what was the best way moving forward rather than just one entity making that decision. And so I think there's this idea that you have one person, particularly the party, running these programs. But last year, we wanted to make sure that everyone was at the table and everyone was making prime decisions for, whether that was versus who we were talking to, the support that a candidate was getting. And that's very important. And that representation is important. And also thinking about, when you're branding and you're calling something Take the Majority in Pennsylvania, we're back to Blue PA. That is because this isn't just one entity running these programs. Again, we have table partners, and so they have as much of a decision and a hand in how our team moves forward, just as much as anyone else. And so that is really, really, really important. And then I also think just the communication structure of our campaign last year was very important, right? Using our pod directors to have unilateral communications with our campaign managers is very, very important, and really working hand in hand with campaign managers and the candidates was so valuable. Our team was their team. We worked in the same offices. The communication was there. And so when you over communicate what the strategy is for these candidates and letting them know that we are here to support them and we work for them and with them, I think that ultimately changed the faces of coordinateds in Virginia moving forward.
You know, what a lot of folks don't realize is just the amount of collaboration we try to end up doing. Obviously, we can't include everybody because decision making becomes hard when you do that. But that's important to make sure that we are moving forward and that we are trying to include everybody's voices, whether it's our C3 partners, whether it's everybody else. So Fernando, I'm going to give you the last word on this panel because again, I think that we're going to hear from Delegate Aird next about kind of a pseudo call to action and how our delegation here can really use the last few days to focus their energy and their resolve to elect Joe Biden, to re-elect our congresswomen, and maybe add another one in CD5 and 6 and others. But then also too to make sure we re-elect Mark Warner and take back the Senate. So for Fernando, I just want to ask you again for the final word here. How, very specifically, what can we do to elect Joe Biden? What's the easiest way to do that? How can they sign? How can people sign up? And what is the most impactful action that they can make right now if people are nervous about getting involved, or if they are nervous about coming out of their homes during this COVID crisis?
Thanks. I think the important thing is educating yourselves on the tools we have available. So we'll help you build up your virtual events that instead of being able to knock somebody's door, you'll invite them into your Zoom. And finding a way that you can be creative with a virtual event that will get people to join. And one interesting thing about this virtual environment that we're in is that we can have very impactful conversations even if we are distant. We can bring in we had a climate roundtable where we brought in Jennifer McClellan, Elaine Luria, Donald McKeechin. They were all one was in DC, one was in Richmond, one was in Hampton Roads, but they came in and they spoke about their work to help our planet, and people that were motivated by that signed up and watched and were able to have that conversation in their living rooms. Those are the kind of things that we'll be able to provide to get more people in and get people activated with our campaign. So we need you to take the leadership in hosting these virtual events. The second thing is, we are in a new digital world where everybody needs to be comfortable texting out the vote. We have a very robust, dynamic texting program. We were able to get 900 Virginians to an organizing training with Mayor Pete Buttigieg a couple weeks ago, and we got that out because we have a texting army, and that texting army is only going to get more powerful. And you can have very meaningful conversations via text. But all this to say, folks need to get educated on how to be super volunteers in this social distant environment. And that starts with going to joebiden.com/organize now. Take the time to meet with an organizer. They can download all this information to you so you know how to use the tools. Sit in on a digital organizing training that happens daily. We have digital organizers in Philly whose whole job is to teach folks how to use our tools. Download the Team Joe app. That is our app that we've created that gives us the ability to share the messages that we want to share with our folks leading our relational organizing program. So those are the three big pillars that all of us should take in if we're and it's the new normal that we have to all do. So I think that the important thing is to get educated with all the tools we have available, take an active step, be creative. I think an important thing to realize is that we may not have all the answers as a campaign because none of us have done a presidential campaign during COVID.
Yeah.
So we're going to need your creativity. We're going to need your leadership. We're going to need your voice to bring people in. And let me tell you, one of the things that I'm inspired by is that there is so much energy to help Joe Biden get elected, to help Democrats get elected. The country is ready for real leadership. And we need to be able to provide and harness that energy. And we need your help to do that. And we need your help to provide the space and virtual venues to get people more involved. And the way that, the relational organizing piece works is you host a virtual event, you inspire somebody else that attends your virtual event to reach out to their network and their network and their, and their colleagues and their family members. And, piece by piece, this is something we can all do right now, that will help spread the word about Joe Biden's vision on specific policies, and just overall understand that, like, people want real leadership. Right. And Joe Biden is the person that's going to restore the soul of this country. And people are ready for change. So we have to be the ones that bring it to them.
100%. And Fernando, I just wanted for the delegation out there watching, or if you are like not a part of the delegation or member of the general public, you can always email us at Virginia at the party. Sorry, I hit my mic there. At political@vademocrats.org. And we can hook you guys up and make sure that you guys are connected, whether it's with Fernando or other folks that Fernando mentioned, that is there in Philadelphia, ready to go and ready to help you guys get involved and get started on this. I think it's really important that we do that. I'll also put a plug in if you're interested in the Virginia coordinated campaign, which we have going right now with Mark Warner, and our congressional campaigns. You can also reach out to me about those. I'm happy to field questions there. It's an interesting time to be a Virginia Democrat, right? And we are evolving, and we're making sure that we can adapt to this crisis, just like what we're doing here with our first ever convention. So Fernando, Ivana, I want to thank you guys for joining us and kind of like helping to wrap up our virtual convention last panel here with how people can be focused and get involved. Appreciate you guys. And I'm hopeful that pretty soon maybe we can have a virtual beer at a bar and be safe in doing it. So appreciate you all. I want to, but before I let Delegate Ayer take the floor here with kind of a call to action, I want to just preface a couple things. Delegate Ayer has been since whenever I got involved. Or whenever I became the ED of the party, has been somebody that has been a mentor, who's been somebody who has let me know like when she disagrees or agrees with whatever decisions we make, and she's been so helpful in making sure that we adapt to these challenging times. And so when I asked her about this virtual convention, and I showed her the draft agenda that we were making, she'd mentioned we need something to kind of close up and to focus our delegation, to focus those that were watching, to make sure that they know this is what they need to do after this convention, to focus your energy and everybody's just our resolve to make sure that we elect Joe Biden and others. So I thought it was very fitting that I asked her to deliver that call to action. So Delegate Ayer, I appreciate your friendship, and I will let you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Virginia Democrats. I'm LaSharice Ayer, State Representative of the 63rd District and proud Chair of the 4th Congressional District. It is my distinct privilege to be able to address you during this historic virtual convention. I hope you've listened intensely to all of the amazing leaders that have addressed you over the past few days. As our celebration of Democratic leaders comes to an end, this next part is on you. This next part is on us. An amazing show of solidarity throughout the last few weeks. The international community in places like Germany, Italy, France, Denmark, Syria, Poland, Canada, Australia, I could go on with this list. They've demonstrated just how much the pain that we were feeling as Americans pierced their hearts as well. In all 50 of our states, from large cities to small towns, people everywhere have taken to the streets to demand justice for far too many lives that have been lost due to senseless hate. Virginia Democrats, far too many Americans voted in 2016 for a candidate that they knew represented hate and frightened the overwhelming majority of, dare I say, non-white citizens. And with their selection, they sacrificed us against our will. As we look around, we know that sacrifice has resulted in the continuous spilling of Black blood. We can't let this go on, and we can never let this sacrifice from voters happen again. Since January 20th of 2017, the charge for that hate we have seen directly be fueled from the White House. Virginia Democrats, it's time for us to evict the tenant in the White House. Everything around us is in flames, but I promise we can slowly begin to put out that fire, beginning with what we do in November. But the only way to do that is if we can stand together. I need you to be part of the army of canvassers, phone texters, phone bankers, postcard writers, support staff for every single one of our Democratic candidates up and down the ticket, and most importantly, Vice President Joe Biden. Every moment of every day from here on out is an organizing opportunity that I need you to take advantage of. Every person that you come in contact with is a chance to make someone an activist, a chance to grow every individual in your community as part of this movement as we head into November. You know, every unimaginable accomplishment that we've ever been able to conquer here in this country has been as a result of us coming together with great organization and pushing to the end. The decision, Virginia Democrats, to mobilize and organize is right here, right now. It's now. Together with you, I know we can do this. So if you haven't already, please sign up to work on a campaign, any campaign up and down our ticket of Democratic leaders, and help get them the support they need to push them over the finish line into November. Stay close in contact with the Democratic Party of Virginia. Make sure you're signed up to receive our updates. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for all the hard work you've already put in to get us here, but we have a long way to go, and I hope that together we can get there. Thank you so much, and please, please, please take care, be safe, and stay healthy.
Thank you, Delegate Aird. Appreciate your words there. Very fitting to wrap up this first ever virtual convention. I'm going to turn the floor over to our chairwoman, Susan Swecker, who we've saved the best for last, I think, chairwoman with Senator Lucas. But I will let you have the floor, and we will deliver our closing remarks.
Thank you, Andrew, and thanks for your hard work and the work of the staff. Best state party staff in the country, I have to say. So please give them a virtual round of applause for making this run so smoothly. And now it's my pleasure to begin to conclude our 2020 state convention. I am so proud. I'm just so proud to be joined by one of my closest friends in the General Assembly, our Democratic Party Vice Chair of Outreach, and the first Black woman to serve as President Pro Tem of the Virginia Senate, Senator Louise Lucas. Louise, it's great to see you, and I'm going to now turn this over to you.
Thank you, Susan. It is always great to see you, my friend. My fellow Democrats, I want to thank you for coming together for this exciting and inspiring virtual convention. It was a joy to watch 3 days of conversations and speeches by some of my favorite Democratic leaders. Yesterday, Vice President Biden reminded us, amidst the crisis that we are facing and the crisis that we're experiencing, that none of us can afford to be silent. We can't afford to be silent while COVID-19 is continuing to ravage this country and Donald Trump is putting people at risk. We can't afford to be silent while our friends and neighbors are struggling in a broken economy. And we can't afford to be silent amidst unprecedented protests against police brutality and systemic racism. Over the next 4 months, let's resolve to continue speaking out and pushing forward for change. If there's one thing that the past 3 days have made clear, is that the Democratic Party will not be silent. And we continue to stand on the side of justice and equality. Thank you so much to my friend DPVA Chair Susan Swecker and everyone at the Democratic Party of Virginia for organizing this convention, bringing in so many fantastic speakers, and unifying our party behind our nominee, Joe Biden. We have a lot of work to do ahead, but I'm confident that come November, Virginians will vote to elect Joe Biden, Mark Warner, and all of our Democratic congressmen and women. So let's get this done and keep up the good work as we march towards justice and a Democratic wave in November. And Susan, I can't thank you enough for your friendship and for all of the hard work that you and everybody at DPVA do to help Democrats all across this state.
Thank you so much, Senator Lucas, for those inspiring remarks and helping us close out our 2020 state convention. Many of us watching today know you for your life's work and dedication to fairness and to justice. For those who are a little newer to this process, I want to make sure you know what an inspiring leader Louise is. She has spent her entire life working to make her city of Portsmouth, her district, and the Commonwealth a better place. First as a mayor, and now as a state senator. And thanks to the trifecta we won last year, she's, as I said before, the chair of Senate Education and Health Committee, and the first ever African-American woman to serve as President Pro Tem. And I finally get to say these two words, Madam President. This woman wakes up every morning working to make a better Virginia. This past session, her successful bill to end Lee Jackson Day and make Election Day a state holiday is not only symbolic, but has real positive consequences for everyday Virginians. Of course, for those who are true leaders like Louise, who speak with a powerful voice, who are women of courage, come the ridiculous comments and attacks. In this case, by some far-fringe voters who want to recall her because they're more upset about a Confederate statue being taken down than the murder of George Floyd. I have news for them. We stand with Louise, and we will continue to stand up for her the way she stood up for us. And let's also stand up for truth, justice, and fairness. Let's stand up to the racist, sexist, cruel homophobe who runs a criminal enterprise out of the White House. Like you, I'm ready to say a big old don't let the door hit your big old butt on the way out. And to Donald Trump and his corrupt family and cronies. And notice, I said but in case any kids are watching. I'm ready to restore honor and decency and integrity to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And we can do that when we elect Joe Biden President of the United States. Wouldn't it be great to have a president who has a heart and shows compassion for everyone? I want to thank each of you again who have joined us this weekend. Thank you to our speakers and panelists who provided great insights and inspired us. And thank you again to the best state party staff I could ever have. They are just a role model and inspiration. And during all of this challenge, I want to say, they never said we can't do this. They got up every day, goal-focused on what we needed to do. And also thank you to all the many, many volunteers who made this possible. This isn't going to be an easy election, but nothing worth fighting for ever is. These next 135 days are going to be the most critical of our lifetime. Now, music has consoled me and lifted my spirits since that dark night of November 8th, 2016. And if you know me, you're likely aware that I really like traditional country music, but I also love gospel music. These last weeks, I've listened to and hummed many versions of We Shall Not Be Moved, an old gospel song, a union protest song, turned civil rights anthem that was sung at the March on Washington. The theme is rooted in Scripture, in the book of Jeremiah. We shall not be moved. Just like a tree planted by the water, we shall not be moved. Virginia Democrats, we know our task at hand. We are laser focused. We shall not be moved. Whatever comes our way, we shall not be moved. We are up to the challenge. We will elect Joe Biden President of the United States. We will re-elect Mark Warner to the United States Senate. We shall not be moved. We shall grow our congressional delegation and elect Democrats up and down the ballot. We shall not be moved. I look forward to seeing you virtually or maybe even in person on the campaign trail. And it's my great honor now to formally adjourn the 2020 Virginia Democratic Party Convention. We stand adjourned.